Hi everyone, Heather here with Astrology with Heather.com, and I am back with another weekly forecast. This one is for Monday, January 14th, all the way through to Sunday, January 20th of 2019. And I am continuing my eclipse season coverage this week. We have a total blood moon, full lunar eclipse in the sign of Leo, and it's going to be quite an intense one. And even leading up to that eclipse, there is going to be a little bit of intensity in the astrology and in the energy. And so, as we start the week, it's not quite as turbulent. And so we actually have this nice little period here, Monday through Wednesday, really, where things are not going to be as chaotic, where we have actually some really nice electional astrology as well. The moon is exalted in the sign of Taurus. It's making really nice aspects, pretty much the entire time that it's in the sign of Taurus. And so, if you feel like you need to get something done and you want to utilize a more positive energy, you want to, make it so there's a little bit more predictability in the actions or the results of the actions that you're taking, which can be an issue during the eclipses, especially these ones, and especially the eclipse that's happening at the end of this week. That's a time when you can do that, right? So there you go. So there's some really nice energy at the start of this week. It's a little bit of like the calm before the storm, but you still will be feeling the eclipse because this is a powerful one. Even though lunar eclipses are considered to be a little bit weaker than solar eclipses, it's still a very powerful energy. And that's especially the case for those living in both North and South America, because throughout the entire United States and throughout all of South America, we're going to be able to see this eclipse, this blood moon, and especially on the West Coast and the American Southwest, and all of that, you're going to be able to see it at moonrise. And so you're going to have this giant blood moon rising at sunset on the day of the eclipse. And traditionally, as I mentioned in my video with Robert Phoenix for this month, that's not necessarily the greatest omen. So I don't think it's necessarily anything to be afraid of, but this is actually a very intense eclipse because it will be forming a T-square with Uranus. And if you want to know a little bit more about how this eclipse will affect people generally and, more on a global sort of mundane level as well, mundane astrology is, astrology of world events, and that's part of what we do when we come together, Robert and I, at the start of every lunar month. You can go back and watch our video for this month because we do really spend a lot of time going in depth into this eclipse. But in terms of how this is going to be affecting us on a more personal level. This is going to be activating that Uranus energy, right? So Uranus just stationed and it's finally moving direct for the very last time in the sign of Aries. And so, lunar eclipses traditionally are thought to have more to do with culmination points and endings. It's not necessarily endings though, because an ending is more like a solar eclipse. Somebody commented about this actually in one of my previous videos about, aren't lunar eclipses having to do with beginnings and or solar eclipses having to do with beginnings and lunar eclipses having to do with endings. Not necessarily. They're actually both associated with, abrupt beginnings and abrupt endings, fated, unexpected twists and turns of events. But the new moon is always associated with endings and beginnings because those two things kind of go hand in hand. Whereas the full moon, it can, bring abrupt beginnings. It can bring the culmination point of something and the need to sort of wind things down. But, it's not necessarily an ending, right? A culmination point is not an ending. It's the peak of something. And so that's more the energy of this lunar eclipse. It's the peak of something. It's something, coming to the culmination point. And this is actually the very last eclipse that we'll be having in the sign of Leo. We actually have the nodes already shifted into the signs of Cancer and Capricorn. So all of the rest of these eclipses that'll be occurring in 2019 will be in the signs of Cancer and Capricorn. So this is significant for two different reasons. One, it's significant because it's at the beginning degree, right? It's at the 0 degree of Leo. But when it comes to the transits of the nodes, because the nodes move in retrograde, this is actually the ending degree of the nodal transit through the sign of Leo. And so, this is something where it's like the culmination point and the final sort of surge of energy in this area of our charts It's sort of any remnants or leftover energy from the eclipses occurring in the sign of Leo, or even in the sign of Aquarius, the culmination point of something that was seeded over the past year and a half. And so that's part of what could be going on here. Also, this is a huge activation of Uranus in this T-square at the end degrees of the sign of Aries. It's about to be shifting into Taurus in March, and it won't be back into Aries for another 84 years. And so this is the final chance to make adjustments, to make changes in the Aries area of our lives. This is the final chance to take hold of that faded energy. This is the final upheaval. This is the final sort of twist to the story of these eclipses in the signs of Aries and Leo, or Aquarius and Leo. The other thing too is that we started this cycle with the eclipses in Leo and Aquarius. It wasn't the very first eclipse in those signs, but in August of 2017, we had a total solar eclipse that was fully visible in the United States. This time around, we have a total lunar eclipse that's visible across the entire United States. So people in the United States are going to be feeling this the most, and this could bring the culmination of an energy that began or was seeded on a more broad general scale for, the United States and for Canada as well. And this is also obviously affecting South America, because this one is fully visible there too, because it's occurring at night in all these areas. So this is going to affect these places the most, and also the people that live in these places. So it's already a total eclipse. It's going to be very strong for everyone, but just know that if you live, in North or South America, that this eclipse energy is going to be much stronger for you because it's visible where you live. And so that energy is much more potent. The other thing too with the eclipses, with these sort of lunar eclipses, is that a lot of the change can be first off, it can highlight something and sort of bring it to the forefront of your consciousness, as it relates to like an internal struggle or an internal battle or something of that nature, that can cause you to make some sort of change. But this is really an eclipse about making those final adjustments, making those final changes, seeing what you've created out of that space with all of the change, transition, upheaval, faded sort of new directions. If that's been something that's been applicable to you, if your chart has been really affected and maybe the fixed signs with these eclipses in Leo and Aquarius, it's sort of surveying what has happened, and it's one final twist, one final turn, one final chance to make changes in these areas. And so it's like you're seeing the culmination of everything that you've created here, and it's kind of like, okay, this is great. I'm at my peak of success in my career from this, or I'm at the peak of this project. I'm at the peak of dealing with the energy that has come about in my family, and what do I need to change moving forward so that way I can make the right adjustments, so that way this energy will play out more favorably for me moving forward, or now that this is sort of at its culmination point, what's next, that type of energy too. And with that Uranus energy, this is really highlighting the need to make those final adjustments in this Aries area of our lives before Uranus fully moves into the sign of Taurus. And so that's going to be a really predominant energy as well. So that's the biggest thing going on here. So the energy of the eclipse, you'll start to feel it. So lunar eclipses, like I said before, are not quite as strong as solar eclipses. They're not considered to be as strong as solar eclipses, but they're still really, they do have an effect, and especially when it's a blood moon like this. And so you'll start to feel this really at the beginning of the week, but there is some nicer energy there, so it's not going to be, like I said before, not quite as turbulent. You'll really start to feel this coming into Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and obviously the eclipse is going to be happening on Sunday, and you'll feel it all throughout the following week. Same thing as with solar eclipses. The few days prior and the few days after the eclipse are not a good time to start something new if you want it to go a certain way. And the events that do happen to occur around these eclipses are typically considered to be fated. They are showing you something about a new direction that you need to move into, or a new something that you. And this is an energy of newness as well, because this is the North Node, right? And so it's highlighting the end of this this culmination point and the end of the transit through Leo, but it's also highlighting the beginning of a transit through Cancer, right? With the North Node, that's really what's being highlighted, is the North Node area of the chart. And so North Node eclipses are usually more more positive, or experience more positively. They have to do with growth and expansion and sort of becoming obsessed with that area of your chart or your life, heading onto a new path, into a new direction. Whereas South Node eclipses, which is what we had at the start of this month, are more about endings. And so especially when you have a solar eclipse, new moon, that is in a conjunction with the South Node in this eclipse, right? That's going to be more about endings. And all eclipses, like I said before, are associated with very abrupt beginnings, very abrupt endings, changes of fate, reversals in fortune. But it is, with the full moon, a little bit more associated with the culmination point, something that's already started, that you're sort of seeing the results of, and you have to decide what you're going to do, what changes you're going to make moving forward. But yeah, so you'll start feeling that. And so again, electionally, thinking about like planning your week, if you have anything really important coming up, if it's something that just happens to be on this day, that's okay. That's fate, right? That's something where maybe it's meant to be, it's meant to happen. But if you have something that you have in mind that you really want to go a certain way, these eclipses are not the best time to do that, because especially before the eclipse, usually the plans won't work out the way that you want them to, because your plans will be eclipsed by something, right? It plays out very literally like that. And that's not necessarily the worst thing. It is fate stepping in and changing your plans in a way that's more in alignment with what your soul needs. And I've seen this happen time and time again in my own life and in the lives of my clients. It's just a thing. So don't worry about it if that is the case for you. Sometimes I'll get emails and messages from people when I say stuff like this, freaking out because they have something really important coming up, because you are going to get what you need. It's just not going to be what you think you need at that time. And so anyway, so the eclipses, this is the final eclipse in January, and then we're going to be out of eclipse season at the beginning of the next lunar cycle. But this one, it's happening just as the sun is moving into the sign of Aquarius. The sun is, still in that really tight square with Uranus. The moon is going to be squaring Uranus. We have a lot of energy around, the sun and moon, like the sun will still be part of a stellium here with Pluto and with Mercury, even though it is technically in the sign of Aquarius. It's within that orb of conjunction. And so there is still a lot of intensity around this eclipse as well. And also with Pluto being involved, this really helps us to see what's really going on beneath the surface. It illuminates that energy. And so this could be a lot of subconscious energy coming out into the open, coming out into the surface, so that way you can so that way you can see it, look through it, work through it, transform it into something new. And so that's part of this energy as well. The other stuff that's going on here, so there's going to be a really nice trine between Venus and Mars that's coming on Friday as well. So Friday is when we really start to see some of the more turbulent energy. We have a Mercury conjunction to Pluto, which, is good or bad depending on how you deal with Plutonian energy. For some people, if you have like Scorpio rising, like I do, or maybe even Sun in Scorpio, you might do a lot better with Pluto conjunct Mercury or Pluto conjunct the Sun, which happened last week, would be very invigorating, very energizing for you. For others, this could signify a sort of a mental crisis, an internalized sort of mental sort of analytical energy, right? A crisis of your thoughts, a crisis of your beliefs. You could have some really intense communication coming in, but this is really good for really strong mental focus and for getting to the bottom of things, getting to the truth that lies beneath the surface. And that's also being highlighted as part of this eclipse. Although it's kind of like with the moon in opposition to the sun, it's pulling us out of this energy, right? We've been in this Capricornian, Plutonian, Saturnian energy for the past several weeks now, but especially over these past 2 weeks since we had that new moon eclipse. And, this is sort of us pulling ourselves out of that and seeing things in more of a Leo light, right? So it's creating balance by pulling us out into this sort of more, this more generous, more heartfelt, more playful, more romantic, more fun-loving, energized energy, right? As opposed to the Plutonian, Saturnian energy, the South Node, which is more about letting go, loss. There's a sense of restriction, limitation, crisis that could potentially come with that energy. There's a lot of sort of heaviness, a lot of intensity. It's like focusing introspectively, trying to figure out what's going on beneath the surface, where this is more pulling us back out and putting us in a more lighthearted energy, even with that square to Uranus. Uranus is not a malefic, at least not in my opinion. It works both ways, but usually the end results, I actually consider Uranus to be a benefic. I haven't seen something to really show me otherwise so far in my career as an astrologer. Sometimes it'll seem like a malefic while you're in the middle of, difficult Uranus transits. That's definitely the case, but usually the changes that are coming about and the turbulence that you're experiencing are intended to shake you out of complacency, to shake you out of a rut, to shake you out of some sort of stagnant, stuck energy, so that way you can be liberated and you can be more in alignment with your freedom, your sovereignty, what you truly want, need, and desire in life, or the path that you're supposed to move into that maybe you're resistant to and reluctant to move into because you're complacent or comfortable with where you're at. And so that's part of this energy as well. And when it's a square, it can come about more harshly and in a way that is perceived a little bit more negatively because it can bring challenge. And the challenge here is in the fixed signs with a fixed T-square is to break out of a rut, break out of stuck, stagnant, stale energy, right? This is in the fixed signs, and it's actually in the, it's all in the fixed signs, isn't that interesting? Okay. Uranus is actually in Aries, so that's in the cardinal signs. So the Uranus energy is a challenge to start something new. It's the final chance to change something and to utilize that energy. But yeah, in the fixed signs here with this T-square, there is a challenge to break out of old, stagnant, stuck energy as well. I think people will be making a lot of big changes this month, and they already are. But yeah, I think it's gonna only get a little crazier. So anyway, so this is the energy for the eclipse, and now I'm going to, and I forgot to pull up my chart. I'm sorry for that. There it is. Now you can see it as I go through all 12 signs, but you can see here that there's still a really intense stellium. I always point the wrong way. I don't know how to highlight it on my screen, but there's a little stellium there going on between Saturn, Pluto, Mercury. We have the South Node involved, and then the Sun, which is still in that conjunction and part of that configuration at the 0 degree of the sign of Aquarius. There's a really intense T-square going on with Uranus, and then we have, of course, the Moon conjunct the North Node, almost exact to the degree, and just a few degrees off there. So that's where you get that total lunar eclipse because of the closeness between the Moon and the North Node. But anyway, so I'm going to get into my forecast for all 12 signs. And before I do that, I just want to remind you guys all that this is a general forecast. It's not going to be always completely applicable for everyone. But it is going to be pretty detailed and pretty accurate, especially if you listen to your rising sign first and your sun sign is secondary, because that's the way I do my readings, or at least these general forecasts. And if you want to get a one-on-one personal reading with me, you can always do that. I'm always happy to connect with you guys. The link to do that is in the description below, and you can figure out what's going on with your chart. But let's start here with Aries and with Aries rising. All right. And so for Aries, first off, you're having the activation of Uranus, which is moving out of your first house or away from your sun sign. And especially if you have your sun, moon rising near the end degrees of Aries, so 25 to 30 degrees, you're going to be feeling this energy really intensely because you're going to be having the eclipse squaring, your ascendant. You're going to be having this Uranus activation on your ascendant. So this could bring about a very intense change, a very strong sort of sense that you're being guided by fate, guided by destiny, that you need to move into a whole new direction in your life. You might have had a lot of focus recently on the area of your life associated with career or with higher education, with your beliefs, about God, the universe, the world around you. And now it's time to sort of pull you back down to your roots. And it's showing you the culmination point of the energy that you've been seeding when it comes to your home environment, when it comes to your family relationships, when it comes to your family dynamic over the course of these past, 18 to actually more than 18 months for at least the past year and a half. This is also highlighting the final adjustments and changes that you need to make in terms of your identity out in the world, in terms of the way that you navigate through life, and in terms of your relationships as well. That's part of it, right? Especially if you have Uranus on your ascendant right now. This is in opposition to the descendant. This is in opposition to the 7th house. And so for Aries, this is going to be especially potent. So it's looking at what changes have you made over the course of the past 8 years to your identity, to your personal development, to the way that you interact and engage with the world, and what are you going to create moving forward. This is the culmination point, like I said before, of something that you seeded, especially since February of 2017, as it relates to, or I would say especially since August of 2017, but February was when that really started. But as it relates to your home, your family, your property, this is you coming back into balance between focusing so much on your career and public reputation and focusing more on your roots and, you know, what you need in your family life. And maybe that's what you've already been focusing on, right? What do you want to come home to? That type of energy. So what are you coming home to now after all of the, you know, fated events and twists and turns that have occurred in this area? And, you know, what adjustments do you need to make in order to create a better foundation for yourself and a better situation overall for your family moving forward? And so that's a lot of what this energy is. There can be a lot of, you know, major changes and upheavals, very fated, synchronistic twists and turns that can throw you on a whole new path and in a whole new direction as it relates to your career, your public reputation, the work that you do out in the world, your home, your family, your property, your relationships, and your personal sense of identity out in the world, your sovereignty. And so that's what's going on for Aries. You might even be feeling like you want to rebel against a lot of what you've created for yourself over the past couple of years. And, you know, that could be part of this as well. And looking at that frustration, looking at that sense of, you know, uneasiness, that sense of needing to change something. For some people, that might be part of it. For others, you might feel so liberated and so excited, you know, getting this sort of vantage point on what you've created for yourself. So if you did that, right, maybe there's not so many changes that you still need to make. Maybe there's just a few minor adjustments here and there. But, you know, for others, especially with this Aries rising, there's going to be this energy of frustration that you really need to pay attention to, because that's showing you what you need to change very actively. And also it's showing you what fate might step in and, you know, sort of change for you. So paying attention to that. There's a lot up in the air here with this eclipse energy. All right. Talking about before was a little bit more about the nodes and all of that and how it's relating to your home, your family, your property, and all of that. But something that I didn't say for Aries that I need to go back and say is that, you know, the eclipse itself is actually happening in your 5th house and in your 11th house. And so the first eclipse that happened this month, the start of the lunar cycle, that was, you know, obviously in your 10th house. That was looking at starting something with your career. There's a lot of sort of energy there of like loss, letting go, restructuring, shifting, changing. That area of your chart and of your life. But this full moon is also looking at the need to play, right? It's looking at where you go for fun, where you go for pleasure, where you go to express yourself creatively out in the world. It's what you're doing after work. It's what you're doing in your romantic life. You've probably had a lot of changes in your romance over the course of the past couple of years. You've had Uranus, you know, transiting through your sign in opposition to your descendant. You have this, you've had the eclipses happening with the North Node in your 5th house, which is really amplifying your passions. It could be changing the way that you deal with your children, deepening your bonds with your children, making you become more obsessed with the way that you raise them and having sovereignty in the way that you raise them. This could also be an energy of just needing to pull back and needing to express yourself, needing to play more, making adjustments to your daily routines, making adjustments to the way that you move through life or view the world in a way that allows you more time for play, more time for romance, more time to do things that you love to do because you love to do them, because that's what the 5th house is all about. And so that's, I apologize for going back and forth there, but that's, you know, the Aries energy as well. So I got caught up in looking at the Aries ascendant at the end degrees for some reason with that first pass of me looking at that. Anyway, so back to Taurus. So for Taurus rising, this full moon is bringing a culmination point as it relates to well, this is also 5th house stuff for you guys, because this is technically, actually no, this is 4th house stuff. Sorry about that. So this is, you know, the moon is, sorry, the full moon, I'm all flustered now because I messed that up. Maybe I'll go back and edit some things. So the full moon is occurring in your 4th house, which is the house of the home, family, property, real estate. It's your place of living. It is what you come home to. And so there's been a lot of energy around over the past year and a half, especially with the nodes transiting through your 10th and your 4th house, with the south node in your 10th house, looking at what you need to let go of, what you need to release in order to make more time for your family, for your home life, what you want to come home to. And this is showing the culmination point of what you were changing, what you created for yourself as it relates to your roots, right? And again, if you have Taurus, Sun, Moon, Rising at the beginning degrees, you're really going to be feeling this need for change, this need for transformation. It's going to be showing a little bit of the energy that's going to be coming up for you, especially in March, because it's highlighting that Uranus transit to your ascendant, which is, active right now if you have your ascendant at those first few degrees. And so this is you needing to change something about the way that you perceive the world, the way that you interrelate with people, the way that you engage and act on your own self-interest. You might be feeling frustrated, caged up, bored with your current life, your current routines, the way that you're showing up. You might want to rebel against what you've created for yourself in your home life, your family life, your career, your public reputation. Your beliefs right now are going through a process of restructuring, changing. And so, that's changing who you are and the way that you show up as well. And so this is going to be highlighting those changes. And so, this energy here is sort of the final push. It's the culmination point of the fated sort of, I keep saying sort of, the fated occurrences, not sort of, definitely, but the fated occurrences that have been taking place for you, the fated changes, the changes in path, the changes in direction, the synchronistic situations involving your home, involving your family, involving your property, involving, your connections with people in your immediate environment. You could have had, very interesting events and twists and turns there, especially as the eclipses, at some point in time were transiting your IC, or maybe they're coming up to transit your IC. So anyway, that's for Taurus and for Taurus rising. Okay, so for Gemini and for Gemini rising, this eclipse energy is happening in your 9th and your 3rd house. This could bring some very fated communication, fated change of mindset, synchronistic events that show up to sort of change the way that you think about the world, change the way that you communicate, change your educational pursuits or something like that as well. You might have had the desire to go back and get additional education or to learn new skills while you've had the eclipses transiting through your 3rd and your 9th house. This is a very fated change in your life that's stemming from the area of your beliefs and your thought processes. There could have been, circumstances, and there can be circumstances that come up that provide opportunity for travel, especially short distance travel, but even long distance travel could be part of it as well. There's a need to change something as it relates to your friends, your social networks, the people that you surround yourself with by choice, groups of people that are belonging to clubs or organizations that you're a part of, or just letting go of caring so much about what other people think about what you're doing in order to make space to share your ideas, because you've probably had a lot of new, innovative, sort of exciting ideas, things that are a little bit different, that are a little bit that are new to you at least, right? So you've probably been going through this process of learning and expanding your horizons, changing your mindset about a lot of different things, but maybe you've been afraid to communicate about this openly, especially to your friends. And so you might need to change something about your friends. You might need to change something about your social circle. You might need to make some adjustments there, make some cuts. And also this could be a time when a new connection or a connection with a group of people might challenge your beliefs, your ideas, your perception of reality that you've been cultivating over the course of the past 18 months. And so that could be part of it as well. But this could be the culmination point of some sort of project related to marketing, related to communication, related to, the culmination point of some sort of situation related to your siblings, extended family members, cousins, your neighbors, your community, that is sort of coming to a head right now. And so and this is also going to be reflecting on any situations, any new developments, any fated twists and turns of events that have been occurring over the past 18 months with these eclipses as well. I would say that really this eclipse is going to bring a major culmination point of an energy that was seeded in August of 2017. So pretty much all of summer and fall of 2017, that was a really active energy. And so especially for those of you who are Gemini rising, who are living in the United States, that's going to be a time to look to see what this is bringing in terms of that culmination point, that point of reflection, that ability to see things much more clearly, and to pull yourself out of focusing so much on the bigger picture, the broader perspective, your sort of overarching moral, ethical values and belief systems, and focus more on your day-to-day thought processes, your day-to-day ideas, your day-to-day communications with people, focusing less on what's going on out there in the bigger picture, out there in the world, and focusing more on what's going on here in your community. All right. So for Cancer and for Cancer rising, so for Cancer and for Cancer rising, this eclipse is happening in your second and your eighth house. And so you've been going through a series of eclipses in the second and eighth house, which might have been bringing a lot of new fated developments as it relates to your finances, your joint finances through marriage, as well as the finances that you create through your own effort, your own hard work. This could have brought about issues involving debt, credit cards, taxes, inheritance, other people's money that you get through investments. And, now is a time where you're sort of looking at what you've been building as it relates to the way that you create resources for yourself, the way that you accumulate wealth, because that's the North Node in the second house. And so with the North Node transiting the second house over the course of the past 18 months, there's been a focus on money, on resources, on accumulating wealth, on figuring out a new way to utilize that energy, right? There could have been some fated upheavals, twists, and turns related to money and finance. And this is no exception to that. This is going to be in a T-square with Uranus, which is actually going to be in your 10th house, technically, of career and public reputation. And so this could bring about a fated change in your career path, a fated change with a major project or with a relationship with a boss or a coworker that could affect your finances in an unexpected way. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's negative, but it could be turbulent or disruptive to your resources or to your relationship with your finances. With the South Node transiting through the 8th house, this would have been a really good time over the course of the last 18 months to get rid of debt, especially in general, just to get rid of debt and get rid of relying so much on other people's money, other people's resources, and moving forward into creating resources for yourself through your own hard work, through your own efforts, in a way that's very authentic, very genuine for you. And if you've been working on doing that, then this full moon's really going to highlight all of the changes that you made, and it's going to potentially bring one final fated adjustment, twist and turn in this area of your life. And so there it is. But I would expect the unexpected when it comes to your work, when it comes to, because this is on the cusp of the 11th house, maybe even a little bit in terms of your friendships and your social networks. And definitely, don't make any major financial decisions over the next week or so if you can manage not to, unless it comes up organically and it's sort of like this fated thing, because then it's sort of meant to happen, right? It's not necessarily the same thing as feeling impulsive and feeling like you need to make this major shift and then just doing something all crazy, which is a little bit different, right? And I mean, you can do that if you really need to. It's just best to wait until after the eclipse, because there is a need to change something. So maybe you want to change the way that you create your resources through the work that you're doing out in the world. Maybe you want to work more independently. Maybe you want to start your own business. Maybe you want to change jobs, and that will bring a shift in your finances. And that can be okay. And especially, again, if it's coming up organically, let it come up. I tend to really love the eclipse energy, and even when it doesn't go the way that you plan, it usually goes the way that you need it to. All right. So for Leo and for Leo rising, this is in your sign, guys. So if you have your sun, moon, rising sign at that 0 degree of Leo, especially, this is going to be real intense. If you were born on the first day of the sun in Leo, so if you're like one of those people on the cusp between Cancer and Leo, this energy is going to be impacting you and your sun sign much more than, other people who have the Leo energy. So this is actually going to be This is an interesting eclipse energy. So especially for those who have their rising sign at the first 5 degrees in the sign of Leo, this could bring some sort of major culmination point as it relates to your relationships. This could bring a shift in energy from focusing so much of your energy on relationship and to focusing more on what you want, what you need, what you desire, or it's going to help you to view your relationships much more clearly. There might be some sort of fated events, some sort of twist or turn that occurs in your important partnerships that doesn't necessarily always mean marriage partnership or long-term relationship or romantic partnership at all. This could be a fated change, a fated transformation, a shift in direction as it relates to business partnerships or close friendships, or even close friendships with or close relationships with family members. These are all up for change right now. I would say that particularly if you have some sort of business partnership or a relationship with a teacher or somebody in a position of power and authority, that's an area where there might be a little bit more turbulence, upheaval, change. There is definitely a need to change something as it relates to your beliefs. So your beliefs about God, the universe, the world around you, your framework for reality, in order to facilitate this change, in order to facilitate you moving in a new direction in your personal life and in your relationships. And this is you coming back into balance between focusing so much on your relationships and focusing on your needs, wants, and desires out in the world. And this is the culmination point of you shifting in that direction for the past, couple of years. And so this is looking back at all the changes that you've made, and also looking at rebalancing if you've taken it too far. Because when you have the North Node transiting over your ascendant, which it has been, in Leo for the past couple of years at some point, it can make you, because the North Node is obsessive, right? It can make you obsessed with yourself. And I'm not saying that because you're a Leo. In general, that's a thing with the North Node transiting over the ascendant. But it can make you obsessed with your needs, your wants, your desires, your self-interest. And that's really what you should be focusing on. But at the same time, you can't neglect the needs of other people, especially the people that are important to you in life. And so this could be showing you where maybe you've come out of balance and you need to make adjustments in that respect as well. And so, just something to think about and to reflect on, because, even though it is what you need, you can appear selfish to others and it can hurt your relationships. And so this is a time for you to reflect back on everything that's been going on for you in these areas of life over the course of the past couple of years here. And to maybe reap the benefits and the rewards. You could actually, so going back to Leo, before we move on, you could actually get some sort of public recognition for some sort of effort that you've put out there in a partnership or just in general, right? This is the full moon on your ascendant, so it's highlighting you. And so usually this is probably going to have more to do with balance and partnership and all of that, but because this is a total blood moon eclipse right on your ascendant, you might take center stage here. And, that might be a little bit jarring for you. It might cause a lot of changes and upheavals in your life that you weren't really expecting as a result of that recognition that you're getting. All right. So for Virgo and for Virgo rising, this eclipse energy is happening in your 12th and in your 6th house. And so the full moon is happening in your 12th house. It's the hidden house. It's the house of endings, surrender, letting go. And you've been going through this process of the North Node in the 12th house for a couple of years now. And so, this has been a period where you've been really pulled inward, where you've had to focus more on your your subconscious reality, what's going on beneath the surface, focusing on your dreams, your spiritual practices, focusing on doing the deep inner work. And so this is looking at the culmination point of doing that, because really when you have the North Node in the 12th house being highlighted by the eclipses, the process is you coming back into balance between your work life and what it is that you're doing on a day-to-day sort of level, as it relates to your work, your career, your health, your daily routines, the busyness of everyday life, and pulling inward, right? And so even though this is a full moon, and full moons tend to be a little bit more activating, this is a really good time for you to be very active in your dream life, to be very active in your sort of fantasy world, to maybe do something like take a trip, pull yourself away from the world and away from day-to-day mundane reality. Maybe there's a trip that you're taking that is the culmination point of you trying to create that balance over the past couple of years and focusing more inward and internally. This could bring about some sort of final change to your finances, especially joint finances through partnership. You could have money that comes in or leaves unexpectedly through an outside source. There could be a need to make adjustments. Maybe you're frustrated with your financial situation, and this has been going on, these ups and downs and changes and upheavals for several years now, and now you're sort of reaching the breaking point, and you need to make those final changes so that way you have a better, more stable situation moving forward. And this could also, this is going to highlight this is going to highlight those final degrees. And so this could be making adjustments to anything that disempowers you, right? So over the course of the past few years, these sort of turbulent situations that have been coming about with this Uranus energy in the sign of Aries in your 8th house brings up your deepest fears, your deepest traumas, your deepest anxieties in very unexpected ways. So that way you can work through it and you can make the adjustments, so that way you can become much more empowered and much more sovereign moving forward. And when I say sovereign in this context, I'm talking about, sovereign and free from, freeing yourself from the shackles of your anxieties and your fears and the self-imposed limitations that you put on yourself through that energy. So that way you can become more liberated, you can become more empowered moving forward. All right, Virgo. So Libra and Libra rising. So this energy is the final eclipse that's happening in your 11th house, which is the house of friends, social networks, people that you surround yourself with by choice. This is coming back into balance between focusing on your hobbies, interests, passions, the things that you love to do, which you might have been feeling when you have the South Node transiting through the 5th house, it might feel more comfortable to focus on your needs, your self-interest, to focus on romance. But romantic endeavors over the past couple of years might have been a little bit messier or a little bit harder to deal with. They might have felt more restrictive, or that you or bogging you down in some sort of way. You might have had endings of romantic relationships, romantic partnerships, in order to allow you to focus more on your network, your group, your tribe, the people that you surround yourself with by choice, your friends. This could be the culmination point of some sort of energy that was seeded over the course of the past couple of years as it relates to a group or an organization that you're a part of, or maybe a group or an organization that you were trying to start, a new group or a new organization, some sort of new connection that you were trying to make with people, maybe over social media, maybe through some sort of professional organization or networking. This could actually bring some results in ways that are very unexpected to that. This could even bring some sort of new business partnership that could come up for you this week. Or really, this entire month, this energy is going to be playing out, but especially this week, it can be very strong. So pay attention to what's going on for you. Any sort of synchronistic fated occurrences that relates to romance, that relates to friendship, that relates to, networking and groups of people, that relates to the internet and social media. And you might have an unexpected partnership that begins because of this, and it could be like a business partnership or something like that, or you could have the ending of a relationship that comes about rather abruptly with this energy here with Uranus in your 7th house making these squares. And so it could be the ending or the beginning of an important relationship with a friend, or an important relationship with somebody who's more than a friend, right? A romantic partner. This could also bring disruption and disruptive energy to the area of children. So if you have any children, this could be an energy where things get a little bit more difficult to deal with for you in the coming week. But yeah, there's a need to let go of something and make final adjustments and final changes as it relates to your friends, your social networks. This could also be a time when you have faded, very karmic, very beautiful new friendships coming in, but not without a little bit of challenge and a little bit of turbulence and needing to make adjustments moving forward. So maybe it's even that you need to let go of an important close relationship in favor of making room and making space in your life for new connections to come in through your social networks. All right, for Scorpio and for Scorpio rising. Let's see here. Where are you? There you are. So for Scorpio and for Scorpio rising, this energy is happening with the full moon in your 10th house of career and public reputation. And so this blood moon eclipse is highlighting all of the hard work that you've been putting in developing this area of your life over the course of the past couple of years. It's going to show you the results of the efforts that you put in. You might get some sort of recognition, but you could also have some turbulent energy. So you might have somebody, this is happening in your 6th house, which is the house of work, which is the house of daily routines, which is the house of your relationship with your coworkers. And so you might need to be making adjustments to your daily work routines, or final adjustments to your daily work routines, your daily health routines, your relationships with the people that you connect with through your work, in order to create a better situation for yourself moving forward, because this is the final chance over these next couple of months to make those types of adjustments to your schedule, to your routine, so that way you can fully enjoy the benefits and the rewards of all of the hard work and effort that you've been putting into your 10th house of career. This is also showing the need to come back into balance between career and public life, and your home, your family, your property, your place of living, what you come home to. And you might be needing to make adjustments to relationships, schedules, and routines in order to come back into balance in those two areas more appropriately. This could bring some sort of karmic twist or fated event, synchronicities, that type of thing, related to your career, related to connecting with people who are in positions of power and authority within your field, because that's the 10th house, right? It could also bring twists and turns and changes and sort of fated circumstances as it relates to your family, your home, your family dynamic, your relationships with family members, your place of living even. I would say if you have your IC, if you can see where that is in your chart, if you know how to do that around that 0 degree, this could even bring something like a move or a change in your property itself. Or, an unexpected new life or a new family member, that type of thing. That might come in as well. And then this is also the energy here of the 10th house, right? So maybe an unexpected job prospect. Okay. Oops, there we go. So for Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, so this energy of the eclipse is occurring in your 3rd and in your 9th house. And so this is the culmination point of a lot of changes that you've been going through in the areas of travel, and the areas of adventure, and the area of developing the space and the time to travel, to explore, to expand your horizons through experience. This has been a time where you've been exploring new beliefs about God, the universe, the world around you. You've been changing due to very fated and synchronistic circumstances. And you've been changing your beliefs about the world around you. And, that in turn relates to change in the way that you present yourself out in the world and the way that you move through life. But this is coming back into balance between focusing so much energy on your specific plans and ideas and communications and emails and text messages and thought processes, and focusing more on the bigger picture. And so this pulls you out of that area and out of that energy and helps you to see things much more clearly from a different perspective. But this also shows you where you need to make adjustments. So making adjustments in your day-to-day communication with people and the way that you express yourself through language, making adjustments in your beliefs, making adjustments in your thought processes. Maybe this could bring an unexpected circumstance that allows you to travel, right? Maybe this is going to bring up some unexpected travel plans where you get to go to a foreign country, go to a foreign land, go someplace that's far away, or even a day trip, right? Because this is 3rd house energy, that's part of it as well. With Uranus in your 5th house, this is making those final adjustments to the things that you love to do. So this has been making changes in the area of your hobbies, your interests, causing you to sort of look at more unusual hobbies, more unusual things that are a little bit viewed as maybe a little bit eccentric, outside of the box, different from what other people are interested in, and making last final adjustments in this area before you move on to Uranus in the 6th house, which could even be you taking those hobbies, those interests, and making changes to your daily routines to incorporate that into your career, right? And so, that's part of what's going on here, and so that's Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. All right, so for Capricorn and Capricorn rising, there you are. So for Capricorn and Capricorn rising, this full moon is happening in your 8th house. And so this is the culmination point of some sort of energy that you've been working through or working on over the course of the past couple of years as it relates to joint finances, debt, taxes, inheritance, other people's money, deep traumas, deep wounds, deep insecurities, deep psychological issues. This could be, you obsessing over something over the past couple of years and you seeing the culmination point of your obsession, your passion for whatever it is that you've been developing. This could be, with the full moon in the 8th house, this could be money coming in through partnership, or your partner getting recognized for something and bringing in more finances for you with in this area of your life. There could be changes and adjustments that you need to make to your home, your family, your property, your roots in order to make space for your partner to create that income, or to make space for the investments that you want to make for yourself, for your future, because the 8th house is associated with investments, right? That's money that you get not through your work, but through investing in somebody else's work and somebody else's labor. And so this could even be an unexpected change or upheaval as it relates to a property investment, right? Because this is Uranus in the 4th house of property, and the full moon and the lunar eclipse happening in the 8th house of investments. And so kind of paying attention to that energy as well. But there is something that you need to make an adjustment to as it relates to your home life and your property and what you come home to after you're done working, in order to come back into balance in your financial realm. And so there could be some energy going on there. There's some faded twists and turns and changes, this is like the final sort of twist and turn and change in direction related to your finances for the next few years. So yeah, that's what's going on there for Capricorn and for Capricorn rising. All right, and then for Aquarius and for Aquarius rising. Oops, where are you? There it is. Okay, so for Aquarius and Aquarius rising, this energy here is happening in your 1st and in your 7th house. And so this could be the culmination point of an energy that was seated in your relationships over the past couple of years. And so you might have had a lot of ups and downs and twists and turns and upheavals and faded new directions and karmic energy coming in through your relationships. You might have even had an exciting new relationship or a partnership. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship to qualify for the 7th house energy. It could be a really faded strong connection with a new friend, a really faded strong connection with a business partner or somebody that you work with. And so this could be showing the culmination point, the benefits of that energy that has come in over the past couple of years. You might need to make some adjustments, though. You might need to make some adjustments in terms of your day-to-day communications. This is the last time for you to explore these unusual beliefs, these unusual ideas, these unusual forms of education, to have, this might bring up an opportunity within your relationship for an unexpected trip, especially like a day trip, or you might just be feeling frustrated, like you need to change something, you need to move about a little bit, and so you go on a trip because of that energy, right? This is you coming back into balance between focusing on your needs, your self-interest, and the needs, wants, and desires of somebody else. Or it could be that you've gone too far, right? Because we're at this 0 degree, which is technically the end degree of the transit of the North Node transiting through your 7th house. And so you might have gone too far in focusing on your relationship and the needs of your partner. And you need to sort of take a step back and focus more on your needs, your desires, your self-interest, so that way you're living a more balanced and harmonious life, and you have a more fair and equal partnership with whoever this is applicable for. And so those are the types of adjustments that you might need to be making as well. You might have some unexpected sort of crazy communication that comes in over the course of this week that changes your mindset about a partnership or about a relationship in a very faded, very karmic way, and that could be part of this as well. All right, and then for Pisces and for Pisces rising. There it is. So for Pisces, the full moon is happening in your 6th house of work and daily routines, health. And so this could be the culmination point of something that you've been doing in pursuit of better health, in pursuit of having a better work life or work situation, a career change or a change in your job or a change in your responsibilities and your day-to-day responsibilities and routines in your job. And so this could be showing you the benefits of all the work that you've been putting in this area. This could also be showing you where you need to make adjustments between, your work life and what's going on beneath the surface, the time that you give yourself for rest, relaxation, reprieve, in order to create a situation where you can more easily have the financial freedom that you want, need, and desire, because you have Uranus at the end degrees of the sign of Aries as part of this T-square here. And so it's you finishing up making adjustments to your finances. This is one final chance. You have a couple months for this energy, really, with Uranus transiting through the 2nd house. But this is, over the course of the next couple of months, the final push, the final frustration, the final need to change something in your financial realm, in the way that you deal with your money and finances. This could bring some sort of unexpected news related to your work and related to your money and resources. So it might be that you were expecting to get a promotion or a like a raise of some kind and it doesn't come through. This could disrupt your finances in one way or another, positive or negative. And you know, this could be you needing to make those final adjustments to your work, to your daily routines, to your health habits too. If there's any sort of underlying health issues that haven't been addressed, this could bring those out into the open, so that way you have to sort of look at it, you have to deal with it, you have to make those final changes and adjustments in order to have really good, solid routines moving forward. All right, and so that was all 12 signs. So thank you guys so much for watching this video, and let's get rid of that there. And if you have any questions, or if you just want to, you know, tell me what you're going through right during these eclipses, because I always like hearing about your experiences here, you can feel free to comment down below in the comment section. And thank you again for watching this video, for subscribing to my channel, and I will see you all next week. Bye.